I was living a life that was based on what society's norms were. So I realized I needed to listen to myself more. I started really digging more into myself and asking myself questions. Okay, so what do I want? What do I need to do to be the happiest version of myself? To have live a life that's so at the end of that life, I can have the biggest fucking smile on my lips and say no effing regrets. This is a My Vegan Personal Trainer podcast with Remy, episode numero uno.
Welcome to the My Vegan Personal Trainer podcast, where it's all about living a fit, plant-based lifestyle so you can thrive in life while caring for the planet and animals. And now, your host, medical doctor, CrossFit athlete, and online personal trainer, Remy.
Hey, it's Remy, and welcome to the My Vegan Personal Trainer podcast number 1, the very first of hopefully many episodes to come in the future. This is the intro episode to the podcast, where it will be serving as an explanation to what this whole podcast is about, who it's for, and also a little bit about me, your host, my background, and if you are to stick around to the end of today's episode, you will be provided with a resource that can help you basically go vegan immediately with recipes, with a guideline to how you can set up your nutrition, hit your calories, set your macros, how much protein you need, and also when it comes to taking blood tests and supplementation guides, all that will be included in that resource I'll be sharing, so make sure you stick to the end. So let's get to it. But first, before anything, I just want to say thank you, actually, before anything else. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I don't take your attention for granted. The fact that you could actually be doing a million other things right now, like in this modern world that we are living in, you could be doing really, literally, I think we can get to a million, if not more, things you could be doing. Instead of giving this episode a listen, is something I really don't take for granted, and I will be doing my very best to be honoring that attention of yours with valuable episodes that can hopefully impact your life in a very powerful and long-lasting way. So thank you for giving this a listen. Anyway, I'm super happy that we're finally here, that I'm here with you on this podcast. It's been an adventure. 2021 and 2022 have been all about the podcast, sleepless nights, breakups, injuries, but also a lot of fun, traveling to Lithuania, making the podcast commercial, meeting some great new people. It's been a ride. So what is this show about, and who is it for? The voiceover talent Yvonne, who you can listen to in the intro, she's saying this is a podcast where it's all about living a fit, plant-based lifestyle so you can thrive in life while caring for the planet and animals. This is basically what this podcast is all about. So you're probably already derived from that this podcast is about getting fit on a vegan diet, on plant-based nutrition. But the thing is, this obviously that's what's about to some extent. This is like the core, like the fundamental that we have to cover in the podcast. But it's so much more than that, than just helping you being consistent with an evidence-based training and nutrition plan to get fit. It's we're taking the whole human being into consideration, and so a holistic approach when it comes to this the content in this podcast. Therefore, the keyword here, the main keyword to take out from this podcast intro is the word thrive in life. You and me both know that you can't thrive in life if all you got figured out is your training and nutrition and your fitness. There's much more to life than that. Therefore, we are going holistic, just like actually the way my approach is with clients. I don't just look at, okay, how is adherence to training and nutrition, but we take everything else into consideration as well. Also look into social circle or your environment where people are supportive of you or all their direct threats within your social life. We go into meditation, establishing a morning routine. We assess mood, sleep, stress, hunger. Let's say with stress, if you are stressed constantly from work, although it might not have anything to do with the program that we are working on together, it can still be very detrimental for the progress that we are aiming to achieve. So view this podcast as a tree. Let's go with that analogy. The roots of the tree represent the fundamentals, the housekeeping type of episodes, what you generally can expect from a vegan fitness podcast. So everything about nutrition, how does it work, how do we set the calories, the macros, how do we bulk, how do we cut, how do we lose the weight in an effective fashion, how do we build muscle, how do we build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Also, when it comes to training, how progressive overload, how does that work, how many sets do we need, how much weight should I be using, how do I progress the program, how do I know if I need to make any changes to the program as I move along my fitness journey. So questions like this will be answered in those fundamental type of episodes. As time goes by, where we've covered more and more of the basics of vegan fitness and nutrition, and it's actually something you will be noticing already from the beginning, but as time goes, then there will be more episodes that are that go beyond fitness. Referring back to the tree analogy, these episodes are the branches. Some will be related, very related to fitness, some not really. For example, we'll go into topics like sleep. Getting a sleep psychologist on board who will be explaining how we can better our sleep so we function better during the day. Even episodes which might be a bit uncomfortable for me to be making, but again, you got to do what you got to do if you want to make great content for the people. And that is, for example, going into topics like how do you improve your sex life with your partner? How do you have a better work-life balance? How do you get the best start possible in your days? Morning routines, meditation, is it something I need to do? What's the benefit of that? What is transcendental meditation? Going to topics like going to your social life. So how can I improve my social life? How can I attract like-minded and more positive people in my life? Performance hacks. How do I in general just perform better in whatever walk of life you are walking? And also, this is not a business podcast at all, but then even podcast episodes where we go about topics like, okay, how do I make a living from this great passion of mine that I have? And obviously I'm no businessman, so this is something we'll be having experts from other fields coming on board who will be sharing their knowledge with us. Anyway, it might seem like it's super messy, the type of episodes, but actually it's super simple. So this podcast, it's made for vegans and aspiring vegans who aim to live a fit and plant-based lifestyle and thrive on it. So whatever topic that this type of person would be interested in and would find super valuable is what this podcast will create. And therefore, it's not fully limited to just fitness, nutrition, training. But it should be noted that this is a very inclusive community. And by that I mean, you don't need to be a vegan to be here, to be welcome here. Obviously, I have just mentioned who I'm focusing this podcast on. But if you are not vegan or don't even have plans on becoming it, but you still find something valuable from the podcast, you are more than welcome here, brother or sister. Glad to have you here. Before we get into more about the details of yours truly, your host, my background, then I just want to establish this one key thing for you. And it is related to the mindset that you should be having as a listener to this podcast. And that is that this podcast is your podcast. I'm just a messenger. I'm just here conveying, hopefully, information that is very valuable for you. And when I say this is your podcast, that means that I take your feedback very seriously. So if there's something you would like to have to be different, some specific type of episode you want more of or less of, then please do let me know, because with that feedback, the podcast will evolve. So please don't hold yourself back. So next we are going into who is the podcast host, which is yours truly, Remy, whose voice you can hear right now. And why did I create this podcast? By the way, I'm just taking you through my growing up, because it actually also builds the reasoning behind me being the person I am today and the reason for me starting this podcast. My background. Ethnically, I'm half Danish and half Mauritian. My mom, she is Danish. My father is Mauritian, which means you are from the island Mauritius. Very exotic tropical island situated east of Madagascar in the Indian Ocean, which is a place, if you've not been there yet, you should go there and go have an amazing holiday. I was born in Denmark, and when I was like 5 years old, we moved to Mauritius, where I grew up until I was like 16, 17, after which I then came back to Europe to study further. And the whole process of growing up in Mauritius was really beneficial in terms of gaining a wider perspective on the world, on life, on people from different cultures, because Mauritius is a multicultural country where you have people of different religions living together in more or less harmony. We celebrate each other's holidays, even though we might not be Hindus or we might not be Muslim, then we kind of celebrate each other's holidays. So it's pretty cool, the harmony that there is on that island. And by the way, just a quick shout out to my Mauritian family and friends. Wawa Kijiaman. So the first 19, 18, 19, 20 years of my life was crazy hard work when it came to school life. That was my world. And it was out of fear, because in Mauritius, the culture is very much like, okay, school is the only way out. And you kind of get the fear that, okay, if I don't do well in school, then there's no way out. Although that's not true, especially in this world we're living in. If you have access to internet, we have a lot of opportunity. School is not everything. But anyway, those first 20 years of my life was all about school, was all about getting those grades. I was not fully sure what I wanted to do with my life, but I just knew, I'm always been a very ambitious type of person. I just knew I wanted to open up the doors as much as possible. So it was all about just committing 120% to school. And it did serve me well with the academic side of things. I learned also a lot about myself when it comes to performing at a very high level, and what it takes to get somewhere in life, whatever the goal might be. But in the process also, because it was so extreme, I also, especially when you're growing up as a child and as a teenager, where it's also super important to be social and to hang out with friends and develop your social skills as you're growing up and learn from your peers, this I kind of just skipped to a great extent at least. And it just resulted in me being this classic super skinny teenager who is super, he's just a bookworm, super good at the numbers, at books and memorizing stuff. But when it came to basic social skills, to just talking to another human being, let's not mention anything about talking to the opposite sex. That's a whole other challenge there. But just having a normal conversation was I don't know, I was very insecure when it came to anything that was not school related, and I was not happy. I was getting good grades, things looked good, all right, I was things looked as if, okay, I would be having a bright future and all that good stuff. But I was just not happy when I was around 18, 19, 20. I could just feel that something had to change. I was living a life that was based on what society's norms were. So I realized I needed to listen to myself more. I started really digging more into myself and asking myself questions. Okay, so what do I want? What do I need to do to be the happiest version of myself? To have live a life that's so at the end of that life, I can have the biggest fucking smile on my lips and say, no, effing regrets. That's pretty much what I just had at a conclusion. I need to figure that out. I got into a lot of self-help material, got onto YouTube University, going through motivational videos, just learning more about okay, what should I be doing? What should be the next step from here for me to get out of this bad place I was in? And a lot of things happened in the beginning of my 20s where I made some friends who helped me work on social skills, especially when it came to dealing with females. Got presented to some motivational speakers, especially dear Greg Plitt. Shout out to him. Unfortunately, not around us currently. So just started looking for answers, asking myself, what do I need to do, and looking outwards as well, asking for help. So a very mixed and chaotic period, the beginning years of my 20s. And one thing I realized, so although I was working very hard when it came to school life, I actually realized that I was not working hard enough in all other areas. Like I kind of let myself chill because now I have this great excuse. I have been pushing myself a lot in school, so now I have the right to just chill and everything else, and play tons of video games and that. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. This is an individual story. This is my story. I'm not imposing anything as what is the right thing for everybody, but this was the answer that came up to me when I was just spending time alone with myself and thinking hard about things for a longer period of time. So I realized I was not working hard enough on things that I was interested in, and also I needed to work on stuff that I have never really worked on before, including my social skills. Among many things, the major things I did as part of getting to a place where I would be feeling aligned with who I actually want to be is I incorporated fitness and nutrition, got that in place, and took care of my body. I had a vision for how I want to look like. Might be a bit shallow, but there was also more to it, so the mentality behind it and everything. So I wanted to achieve that. And I also wanted to, as I already mentioned, improve my social skills and also incorporate more of stuff that I could just, by looking back to my past, that have really given me a lot of joy. Actually, the commencement speech from Steve Jobs, Stanford University, 2005. You can YouTube that speech. This was a game changer when it came to how do I move on from here? Like, what direction should we take things? And just to paraphrase what he said in his in that speech, he came to a point where he talked about connecting the dots, knowing what you need to do and whether things make sense with what you're doing in your life. And he said that you can't really connect the dots looking forward, but you can do it by looking backwards. So then, using this way of this concept, I basically just looked back on my life and thought about the times that I had a good time. What were the things that made me happy, and what do I want to have more of in my life? And then I pretty much just extrapolated those points I've been connecting from the past and kind of giving me an idea of where I was heading, where I wanted to get to. And from there, I set a goal. And obviously, you have evaluations as you go, and you adjust the goals as you move forward. But this gave me a sense of direction and purpose. So this course correction can actually be attributed to, if we had to point at one thing, that is to a mindset change. Going from the mindset of, okay, whatever I am told is the right thing, whatever society believes is the right thing, whatever my inner voice is telling me, I shouldn't listen to that, to going like to the diametrical opposite, which is, okay, what does my heart tell me? What should I actually be doing? Does it feel like the right thing? Is there a little inner voice that's actually pointing me to the other direction? And whatever fear I would identify I had to attack it. There was no more, okay, we'll just deviate our course and just ignore this fear that we might have maybe when it comes to social interactions, talking to girls, or when it comes to going to the gym and working our asses off. Whatever, there was no excuse anymore. Like whatever would feel something that would be taking my freedom and would be depriving me of being my full me had to be attacked, and whatever would stand between me and the goal had to be eliminated in one way or the other. And also you get to the state where it's like you, as you do this and for a long enough period, you start really trusting your gut feeling, your heart, whatever it tells you, actually becomes your compass. And then you use your mind to get to whichever direction your heart is pointing to. And ever since I've been doing that, using my heart to guide me. It's been one heck of a ride. It's been really a lot of risks that have been taken. There's been times where I'm like, okay, is this a good idea? But then you just tap into yourself and you know within yourself, okay, this is the right thing. Even if I fail here, I won't have any regrets. But again, that's at the end of the day, that's what really drives me with whatever I do. I operate at a level where it's the goal here is to not regret anything at the end of this life. So now you might be asking, okay, what did this mindset change do for me? Like, am I just talking, rambling on, like, ooh, or like what happened? So what came into fruition as part of this change was, first of all, what's most important of all is I live a life now where I feel fully aligned with who I am, and I don't have no regrets. You can, whatever happens, I can be happy. Like my baseline can get better because I feel I'm on the right path. And whenever I feel that I'm not on the right path, I will figure out, okay, what do I need to do? And I start changing the direction. So what it created for me is, first of all, the issues I had prior. So being the skinny, insecure guy with poor social skills, he is not here anymore. So the guy was 10 years ago. So I just turned 30 in 2021. The guy was when I was 20 compared to today. It is like I'm still the same person. It's not like I've changed personality, but it just like both if you will have a conversation with me and also just look at me visually, it's two different people. So social skills are fixed. When it comes to my fitness, that's in place. Today I'm a CrossFit athlete, not at a professional level, but I'm trying to be the best I can be within the sport. I'm a medical doctor. In 2019, I graduated, and a year after having worked as a medical doctor in a surgical department, at a general practitioner's place, then it was a time where you choose which specialty you want to mess around with. And the thing is, I already had a plan, and that was to just go all in with this company, My Vegan Personal Trainer, which I did. And the reason for that are multiple. The thing is, I have been working on My Vegan Personal Trainer since 2014, so 8 years almost since it started, very humbly. And having this developing alongside my medical studies, I was still figuring out whether I really wanted to be a medical doctor. I got to the point where I was pretty sure I wanted to do research. I did that for a whole year as a pre-graduate at an international research unit called the Molecular Endocrinology Department, which is part of the Odense University Hospital found in Denmark, where I research in the field of type 2 diabetes with bone healing under type 2 diabetic conditions. After having had this whole year trying the life of a researcher out, I just, with all the formalities, the bureaucracy, just the way the life was like, I just realized, okay, this is not for me. That's not how I want my day-to-day life to be like. I want to live a life where I actually enjoy the process of whatever I'm doing and not just with the result. So I realized that actually more of the type of person who likes to read about other people's studies and see what they have created and create as results and take it from there. So getting to that realization in 2017, I was pretty sure after med school I would just go all in with the company, because then I just got that eliminated, that this is not the right thing, and it just as the company just developed over the years, my fire, my drive and passion for this project just grew more and more and more. And when I went through this long list of available specialties that you could go into as a basic doctor, then I was like, okay, none of this appeal to me more than my vegan personal trainer, my baby, my my company. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna specialize into the field of prevention, of health, of performance optimization, where I'm gonna go all in with this company, use my skills that I have learned throughout those 7.5 years as a medical student, and my time as a medical doctor in the hospital and the general practitioner's place, and I'm gonna specialize into this field now. And that I did. I just went all in with it since summer of 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. A bit risky. I was not really sure whether this is gonna work, but I just jumped all in, and my wings did spread out, and I have not hit the ground yet. So things are going well since I went full time. Super grateful for how things turned out. As a personal trainer, I got my certification in 2016, and from 2016 to 2019, I've been working in a gym where I got a lot of one-on-one clients, got to establish a lot of experience there as a new trainer, and from there, then I started transitioning to going more and more online. And once I actually realized that I could provide the same, if not more, value by going fully online, and at the same time reach more people, because then there are no barriers and anybody can reach you and you can work with anybody in all parts of the world, then I went fully online and have not looked back since. So my vegan story. Why did I go vegan? As someone who most of his life, until it was like I think 25, 26, I've been I enjoy the taste of meat, the taste of dairy. Like I could eat anything. Like I have no allergies, nothing. And like those summer days with steak on the grill. Ooh, hallelujah. So the thing is, I absolutely love the taste of meat and dairy, cheese. Oh. But then this funny thing happened. 1st of January 2017, and this is super random. We came across this. It was the 1st of January, so we had just said the Happy New Year's, and my mom just went to bed, and who was left was my girlfriend at the time and my dad, and we were about to watch something on Netflix. So we came across this Forks Over Knives documentary. We checked it out, and after having watched it, I was just super curious about this whole foods plant-based diet. I was like, okay, I've never heard about this. I've been studying medicine for quite a long time, been pretty interested in when it came to training, nutrition. I was already pretty fit at that time and very much into nutrition, but I've never heard about this concept of plant-based nutrition. So I was just super curious, and one thing led to the other, so one documentary to the next, reading online, going to Facebook groups, taking courses about vegan nutrition. And then over time, I just got so deep into this whole paradigm of veganism, where you reach the ethics of making the connection. If you're vegan, you know what I mean when I say the connection when it comes to animal ethics. It happened when I actually watched the documentary Earthlings, where you just make that connection. It's like, whoa, okay, shit, I can't go back. And at the same time, I was also thinking, okay, the fact that there's actually another way for me to be getting my nutrition, which doesn't cause any harm to other living sentient beings who have a nervous system, who do feel pain, who don't want to fucking die. The fact that there is an alternative to that, which is actually much more beneficial to, if done right, to health, to the environment, and to the animals, obviously, then it was just a no-brainer. It was like, okay, it just makes sense for me. I don't want to impose this on anybody else, but for me, like this is the right thing. I need to do this. So ever since I made that connection, then it was point of no return, and I've been vegan ever since, and I intend to be it for the rest of my life. And even though I see myself as a vegan for ethical reasons, I still do feel like when I did in the beginning. Although in the beginning, when I first made the transition, it was I would fall back due to my cravings. Again, not knowing what to eat, things like that. Whereas today, 99% of my nutrition is vegan, and then there's this 1% in cases where I'm out traveling, I'm in a place where there are no vegan options, or you're out eating at a family's place. This kind of situations where I do deviate from following the vegan protocol. And I could just stop, not eat what there is available. But when it comes to my approach to it, I will eat it, even though it's not vegan, if there's no vegan alternative. And that's because when it comes to my training, it's super important for me to be hitting my macros and calories on a consistent basis, and therefore I let myself commit that deviation. Although obviously, when it's for ethical reasons, it's a bit controversial the way I do it. But for me, I feel like it's okay as long as I'm getting better and improving the system, and things are getting more and more reduced when it comes to eating things that are not fully vegan. Then for me, it works. Yeah, I just want to put it out there just so that, again, I don't want to paint a picture of me being this perfect unicorn. I'm just human and working on becoming better. Why did I create this podcast? The reason for me making this podcast and putting it out there are various. A big one is because I want to get out to more people in a way that doesn't cost anything at all, while the value can be super high. Like when I'm working with clients, the way it is working right now, one-on-one, online, one-on-one coaching. Also, I'm having people helping me in the company, mostly in the back-end side of things. I'm the front figure. I'm the only trainer in the company currently. So there is this limit to how many people I can work with at a time. And therefore, there are times where I have to let prospects go. There are also times where prospects can afford the coaching. And in those cases, I kind of feel like I'm letting them down, to be honest. This podcast will be solving this, because then I even though I can get more people on the coaching program, then I can just send them to the podcast, and then they can get all the tools they need to actually make the change by themselves. Obviously, there's not this much accountability side of thing that you get with the coaching and this more one-on-one type of work, but it's still something that can really help you get from A to B. Another big reason is also because I want to support the vegan movement. Like when you go vegan, especially for ethical reasons, you just get this responsibility. At least that's how it works for me. That I feel the responsibility to be further spreading the word now that I have achieved this view of the world, this new perspective. And I want to do it in a way where this podcast becomes a positive ambassador for living a fit plant-based lifestyle. And by that I mean, first of all, there is inclusivity. So even though you're not fully vegan, you're still welcome. Even though you have no intention of ever going vegan, but you just want to learn about plant-based nutrition and have more plants on your plate, you are more than welcome, brother or sister. That's the vibe I want to be creating. At the same time, also really enforcing that we are taking evidence-based decisions here. So not spreading biased information out there to convince people to go vegan, but to really be using science to implement vegan nutrition as part of one's fuel. My personal reasons and more selfish reasons for doing this podcast are the following. So first of all, I want to have something that actually pushes me to go in depth with whatever topic I'm interested in. And I made whatever I'm interested in become what I do on a daily basis, which is training, nutrition, performing better in your everyday life. So I really want to have something that would push me to just go more and more in depth with that, where it will still be relevant to the people I help at the same time. So that's one. The other is I want to get better at my public speaking. I need a bit more flow, some pronunciation. Can also get better. the choice of words when I'm talking. Sometimes I don't get the right words and I kind of just use other words to still convey what I'm trying to say. So getting better at public speaking. And thirdly, I want to connect with experts from different fields and build my network. Have meaningful conversations where I can learn a lot, and I'll be recording those interviews, obviously, for the podcast and be sharing it with you, the listener. So it becomes really this win-win solution for everybody. And that's also why I've really fallen in love with podcasting. So next I want to go into the format of the show. So what can you expect from the show? So at least for now, this is going to be a bi-weekly show. So we're launching with 3 episodes, but from now it will be every 2 weeks. Then there will be a new episode coming out. And it will be a mix of solo shows where, like, for example, this episode today, where it's just me behind the mic, but also interviews where we feature experts, where we feature some inspiring people who've been achieving some really incredible results in their lives that will be brought onto the podcast. And the reason also for having experts on the show is because there might be a topic where I'm not the best at talking about that, but with the power of the internet, we can get access to experts who might have been spending their whole life about within this topic that we will have to learn more about. That's the reason why it's super important that we have other people on the show. The episode will be presented with a holistic and evidence-based, beginner-friendly approach, where the goal is to eliminate overwhelm and confusion so that you will learn exactly what you need to thrive on vegan nutrition with a fit body. The next 4 episodes will be giving a representation of the type of content you can expect from the podcast. Obviously, it's a bit hard to give a full representation over 5 episodes, but it kind of leads the way when it comes to what you can expect from this podcast. So last but not least, regarding the format of the show, it's important for me to just express that I do curse from time to time, and I think I actually already cursed once or twice within this actual episode. But it should just be noted that when I do curse, it's more in a positive way. It's not generally not in some sort of negative way to spread some negative vibe. It's like spices you put to your plate, to your meals, to better express how I'm feeling in a certain situation, to better express myself, basically. The reason why I'm cursing is because that's me. I do curse from time to time in my everyday life when I talk to people, when I talk to clients. It's not because I'm doing that all the time. I generally want to keep this to a minimal, but when it does happen, it's just a real authentic me expressing myself. And being authentic on the show is super important for me because I intend to do this for a very long time, and I really want to connect with people and just be me. But again, who doesn't curse? Come on. So that means the show is rated explicit, and a reason also for it being that, apart from me just cursing, is also just so that hopefully the guests that we'll be having on the show also will be feeling more comfortable expressing themselves, and we are able to extract more valuable content out of them because then they won't feeling the need to filter themselves. Like, they can just be themselves, relax, and just express themselves in whichever ways they normally do. So now to the promised resource that I mentioned in the beginning of today's episode. So if you go to myveganpersonaltrainer.com/how-to-go-vegan, so, and with no dashes, no underscores, nothing in between the words, just how to go vegan, one word, then you get to the resource, which is an ebook where you'll learn how to calculate your calories, how to get the optimal protein intake, how to get your vitamins and minerals, how to supplement, which blood tests should you take and when, if you're interested in doing that as part of transitioning to going vegan. Also, there will be recipes, so if you don't have any idea of what meals are vegan and what you can have right away, then you will be having recipes available so you can get started right now, today, and go vegan, or at least give it a try. Just go to myveganpersonaltrainer.com/how-to-go-vegan. How to go vegan is just one word, nothing in between the words, one thing, one word, and you will get to download the free ebook. to get it, you will have to provide your email to be part of the newsletter, and then as a welcome email, you will be receiving the free resource. And if you don't want to be part of the newsletter, you have enough mails coming your way, you are welcome to unsubscribe, no problem. Also, I do want to say that I focus on giving out, when I do come out with content via the newsletter, that it is something of value and not some spammy type of content that's coming out there. And before we end, if you have not already, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll be getting all the exciting episodes to come. And get ready to change your mindset, change your life.
Thanks for listening to the My Vegan Personal Trainer podcast with Rami at www.myveganpersonaltrainer.com.